Hello and welcome back to the channel. Let's drink some coffee and talk about rifle cartridges. So today I want you to think about if you could only have just a handful of guns in a survival type situation, what would they be? I am not a prepper. I don't think the end of the world is just around the corner. But I do realize that there's the potential that, things could happen in your life and you might have to, scale down what you have, or you might get into a financial pinch and maybe you got to sell a bunch of your guns. Or maybe things in the world just get rough and there's not a lot of ways to get food and, that type of stuff. And what would you do? What kind of guns would you have? So let's qualify this and say it has to be one shotgun, one rimfire rifle, one centerfire rifle, and one handgun. So I'm curious to know what you would pick. So to me, it seems pretty clear, except for my last choice, and only in recent years do I have a good answer for that. But first of all, I would start with a 12 gauge shotgun. Because of course, in theory, it could do anything. You could put a slug in the 12 gauge, and as long as you were close enough, you could kill a deer with it. Of course, you can use turkey loads in your shotgun. You can use bird shot for whatever kind of bird that you're after. You could use it for self-defense. You get the right type of ammo in that shotgun for self-defense. Of course, you could even use buckshot. There's just so many variables and so many things you could do and add to that 12 gauge. So I would definitely have a 12 gauge first and foremost. And if you could only have one, period, I would go with a 12 gauge. But let's say I have a 12 gauge and I want to add a rimfire to it. To me, the obvious choice would be a 22, right? Get you a 22 long rifle. Ammo's cheap. Not as cheap as it used to be, but comparatively to other cartridges, very cheap. I personally wouldn't go with a 22 Magnum or any of the 17s because of ammo scarcity. You're always going to find 22, and more than likely you've got a whole bunch of it at your house, and it is the cheapest. And of course, with the 22, you technically can kill a small deer or something like that, but it would not be advised, but it would be the perfect round in a survival situation to go out and get you a rabbit, squirrel, or some kind of animal to eat. So definitely a 12 gauge, definitely a 22. On the handgun, it's a tough choice. I think personally I would keep the handgun that I have, which is my Glock 26. It's a 9mm. I could see a person saying I would rather have a revolver just for the extreme reliability. You don't ever have to worry about some spring or mechanism failing. But I think I would just go with my Glock. That subcompact Glock I have, of course, is concealable, which is the whole purpose behind it. But you can add different grips to it, different magazine lengths from the other Glocks. And so it can do a wide range of stuff. And 9mm is very common. And you can get so many different loads, different weights, different types of expanding bullets or full metal jackets. You can just get so much stuff. So I would definitely pick a 9mm. I guess the only thing that I don't think of as just really easy for me to pick is what kind of centerfire rifle cartridge would I pick. Now, in years prior, I probably would have said a 30-06 or maybe a 243 or something like that. But since earlier in my channel, when I first started, I did a series about what is the best all-around rifle cartridge. Now I know what I would go with. I would go with the 7mm .8 because I decided it was the best. Now, we're not talking about moose size game, but in the place that I live, there are no moose. So I wouldn't have to worry about anything like that. And what I said was, from coyotes to elk. And I can think of no better rifle cartridge than the 7mm Odd 8 for that purpose. It could be a varmint rifle. You could put 100 grain Sierra Varminter bullets in it. It could be a really good varminting rifle. You could put like 120 grain Barnes TTSX. You could put 140 grain nozzle partition or AccuBond. You could get up there to the 162 grain, Hornady ELDX for a little bit longer range hunting. And then as long as you got the twist right, you can get up there to like 175 grain bullet, for the bigger game if you really wanted to. And also in a survival situation, you probably wouldn't be shooting at long range, but if you decided to, have the pastime of shooting at long range, you could still do that, and it's a pretty capable long range cartridge. So that would be my pick. The 12 gauge, the 22, a 9mm handgun, probably my Glock 26, and then my 7mm Odd 8. And I mentioned the Glock, and I didn't mention the other guns. Something like a Mossberg 500 would be a good 12 gauge. It really wouldn't matter on the 7mm Odd 8. Any gun would definitely work. I kind of like the Ruger American because it's a 1 in 8.5 twist rate. So you're going to be able to potentially shoot those like 175 grain bullets without any problem. But any, center fire rifle that you would get would definitely be fine. And then on the 22, let me show you what 22 I'd get. Be right back. I bought this today. So this is a CZ 527 Varmint. I've been looking for this gun for a long time. Occasionally I would see it on Bud's gun shop when I didn't have the money. Today I walked into a pawn shop, and to my surprise, the guy had it. So I bought it today. Pretty excited about it. I obviously haven't put a scope on it, haven't done anything with it, haven't shot it. But if I had to sell all my guns for whatever financial crisis or survival situation I was in, and I could only have a handful of guns, the 22 that I would definitely have would be this gun right here. I love a bolt action 22. So, of course, a lot of people shoot semi-auto 22s, but just the potential for them at some point, a spring to wear out, an ejector to not work properly, something to go wrong is there. It's not likely, but it's there. But with the bolt action, you don't have to worry about that. You're going to have this thing forever and be a perfect small game hunting rifle. So that would be the gun I'd have. So let me just talk a little bit about this gun. So the standard CZ 527, I'm sorry, I said 527, 457, no, I'm sorry. The CZ 457, the standard has a 24.8 inch barrel, which is really odd to me. Nothing wrong with it, and it's a beautiful gun. But with a 22 long rifle, I just can't imagine why you would ever need that long of a barrel. You're not going to have, there's no powder in there, or not enough powder to need that long of a barrel. It might make it quieter. Maybe there's something that I'm missing, and if you know, please comment below and explain to me what I'm missing. But why would you want a 24.5 inch barrel on a 22 long rifle? I'm not sure. But this, I believe, is like an 18.5 inch barrel. Of course, it's a heavy barrel. Try not to point it at you, but it's a heavy barrel. And it's still pretty lightweight. And got a little heft to it because it's got the bull barrel on there. But overall, it's still a pretty light gun. And it's really going to be nice for shooting little small game animals. I'm looking forward to it. CZ, I have another CZ. Their quality is really good. They really have good quality. I actually don't know. I just bought this today. I haven't really had time to research it. I'm assuming this is like a 5-round clip, but I'm not sure about that. It's got a good trigger on it. I felt the trigger. Nice, crisp, light trigger. Good bolt. The wood is beautiful. Has the checkering on the bottom and on the sides. Of course, it has the sling stud swivels. It's all metal. Now, this has the magazine does have some plastic in it, but this trigger guard and this bottom metal is all metal. So it's wood, it's metal. It's got the checkering on the grip. It's got a nice recoil pad, actually a pretty beefy one. For a 22, you know, you don't really need a beefy recoil pad, but hey, it's got a kind of a nice fore-end here, kind of a neat shape. You know, it's not just rounded off, but has a neat shape. It is definitely a free-floated barrel. Hang on one second. Definitely a free-floated barrel. Really excited about this. I'm going to tell you something really strange. I bought a scope for this and the rings about a year ago, thinking I was just right around the corner to buying the gun. Couldn't find the gun, almost gave up, was just going to get something else. Happened to see it today. So I've already got a Optica 5 scope I'm going to put on here. And I've got the tally rings that are meant for this. This has the dovetail on it. It doesn't have, okay, it technically, yeah, it has little divots here for screw holes, I'm assuming for a gunsmith to drill and tap it if you wanted to, but they're not actually screw holes, it's just a divot. But it's made with this dovetail design so that you can get rings with that design. So I've already got the rings, already got the scope. So I'm that weird guy that bought the scope and the rings, even the rings, before he had the gun. So I'm excited to put this together. Can't wait for me and my uncle. He has a nice 22, a Remington Model 5, which they didn't make very long. And he's got it. It's a tack driver. I can't wait to shoot with him. So looking forward to shooting this. Really nice gun. This would be the 22 that I would pick. So I'm interested to know if you could only have 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that, just a handful of firearms the rest of your life, maybe a survival situation, maybe a Red Dawn situation, maybe it's a financial issue and you don't have much. What would you pick? So what would be the calibers that you picked? You know, would you go with what I did? I could see a lot of people picking a 22 and a 12 gauge. I could see totally different opinions on the handgun. I could see people saying like 45, you know, I could see people saying something, whatever, many different things. I think the 7mm Odd 8 will just be one of 100 things that you could possibly pick. I know why I picked it, because I think it's the best all-around rifle cartridge. But you could definitely do a lot with it. But what would the calibers you would pick? Calibers, gauges, what would you go with? I'd love to know. And do you like my new gun? What's your favorite 22 that you own? Do you like lever actions like Henry's? Do you like a Ruger Model 10? Or do you like bolt actions? And if you like bolt actions, what's the bolt actions that you like and what do you have and have any experience with? So enjoy having a little conversation with you and enjoy coffee. And until next time, take care.